I chose that reading more about alcoholism. You know, that's my favourite passage in this book. You know, and I can really identify with it. You know, I started taking drugs and drinking at a really early age. I was about 13 or 14, and you know, it was great in the beginning. I loved it. It gave me confidence. You know, did for me what I couldn't do for myself, and I didn't realise that I had a problem because obviously I hadn't tried to stop because there was no reason. And the first time I think I really tried to stop was when I fell pregnant with my daughter. I was 22. The last few years had been I'd been taking drugs quite heavily and drinking quite heavily, and you know, I had all the signs there. You know, everybody saying to me, you know, you're drinking, you're using drugs too much, it's ruining your life, you're losing your jobs, you're losing relationships, and you know, I just couldn't, I could see it, but I just didn't see it as the problem that it was, as I say, until I really tried to stop when I was pregnant with my daughter. And I got to about 3 months pregnant, and I thought to myself, do you know what, I think it would be alright to have a Tia Maria coffee, because if I have it in a coffee, it's not like drinking straight alcohol, therefore it's not going to harm the baby, blah, blah, blah. So my mind twists, you know, and I end up drinking the Tia Maria, followed by Guinness, followed by God knows what. And I remember waking up the next day and thinking, fucking hell, what the hell have you done? You have sworn that you are not going to drink through your pregnancy. You're not going to be that type of person that's going to drink or take drugs during your pregnancy. And you know, that after a few days of the guilt and shame wearing off, I feel a bit better, getting back on track, and I drink again. And that went the whole way through my pregnancy. My daughter was born, and thank God she didn't have any complications as a result of my drinking. And again, you know, I said to myself, you know, I've got this beautiful new baby, I'm in a nice relationship, things are going really well, and I see that I tried to employ strategies. You know, I stopped mixing with my friends because I thought if I stay away from Lisa, Jane and Billy, you know, I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to use. If I isolate and lock myself away, which is impossible when you've got a brand new baby because you have to attend things, I won't drink and I won't use. And you know, I could manage to stop for a little while. That's what baffled me as well, because when I first started going to meetings, it was like people was talking about once they started, you know, they couldn't stop. And even though sometimes that had been my experience, it's like, what's my trail of thought? Yeah, so that was my experience, do you know what I mean? But I could stop. So anyway, cut a long story short, I had 4 years of drinking and using while I had my daughter, and as you can imagine, the consequences were absolutely horrific. I had to leave my home and move in with my mum, and again, swearing off, you know, forever, I'm never ever going to touch drugs and alcohol again, you know, I promise I'm going to leave it alone. I can see the damage it's doing to everybody. You know, I'm going to stop. And that's when my journey started in recovery, you know, and I've been around the rooms of CA for 12 years, so relapse is like a huge part of my story. I come in, I mucked around for a little while with this stuff, and then I got myself a sponsor and I went through the steps. And when I went through step 1 and I admitted that I was powerless, I don't think I actually realised what that meant. I just thought that if I do what you're telling me to do, go through the steps, have a spiritual experience, help others, everything will be okay. And I've done that, and I was helping other people, and everything was okay for a while. And it took 7.5 years before I picked up again, and that just fucking, it blew my mind, you know, because I actually felt self-knowledge would keep me sober. You know, I was under the illusion of power that I was doing something about that. You know, me, Lisa, gone through the steps, helping other women, doing all the stuff that's suggested, prayer, meditation, commitments galore. You know, I used to smash like 5-6 meetings a week, and when I picked up, I was just absolutely baffled, and still then, even when I picked up, it was like, right, okay, when I stop, not realising that I can't actually predict when I'm going to stop, you know, when I pick up and I put one in me, I don't know when that's going to end, and it's absolutely insane, because it's like, why would you do that? You know, I couldn't understand it. I was baffled, and for about a year and a half I was using and drinking, and you know, it wasn't as bad as it was when I first come in, but I still couldn't stop. I still didn't want to be doing this stuff, and I was doing it. And you know, for me, I went into hospital. I had a heart attack, and I was in hospital. When I come around, I remember thinking to myself, God, what the hell has gone on in your life to be that bad that you've got... Well, I've missed a big part of that out, sorry. I actually met somebody in recovery, and we had 2 children together in sobriety. And when I picked up after them 7.5 years, he picked up as well, and it was absolutely fucking horrific for 2 years, both drinking and using, starting off saying, we're only going to do it when the kids are in bed, to we're only going to do it when they're getting from school, till, you know, we're not doing it in the morning. And then really quickly that progression happens, you know, and I still think at this point that I'm in control of this. I'm choosing to do it at lunchtime, I'm choosing to do it at dinner time. And yeah, and I had a heart attack, and when I come around, you know, I was having all like these little experiences of watching these nurses and doctors care for these people, and thinking, Jesus Christ, I've got to get myself back to recovery. Like, what the fucking hell am I playing at? You know, my life has just turned into carnage again. And the spree had ended. I got back to meetings, and I thought, right, I'll get a commitment. I'll get a home group, you know, start phoning newcomers, and then I bumped into a guy at meetings, and he was like, do you know what, we have these groups. He said, there's a few of us that get together, and we talk about relapse. And I was like, okay, well, if you'd be interested in coming, like, come along and listen. And I did, and when this guy started sharing about being completely, having no power over this, having no say about relapse, I'm sitting there listening. He was like, you know, I started employing all these strategies, and, you know, saying that if I go through these 12 steps, if I get to meetings, if I do X, Y and Z, A, B, C, you know, you're going to be all right. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's me, I'm going to be all right. He was like, let me tell you, you're not going to be all right. He was like, that stuff will not keep you clean. And I just burst into tears, and for the first time, I realised that I am absolutely, utterly powerless over relapse. I cannot predict when it's going to happen, and when I start, I don't know when it's going to stop, you know. And when he said that, I was just like, oh my God, do you know any women that talk about this stuff that you're talking about? And he's like, yeah, I do. And I was like, please, can I have a number? I was like, you know, I've got to find out more about what you're talking about. And you know, and I met Javina. Well, I hadn't actually met Javina. I spoke to her on the phone, and we started talking about this stuff, and I was like, oh my God, will you be my sponsor? I'm fucked. Will you take me through these steps? And she was like, hang on, you've got to understand that going through these steps is a process. You know, you have a spiritual experience, and as a result of that, you can then help others. But you can't use it as a strategy. It's not going to be, right, go through steps 1 to 12, I'm going to be all right, I'm going to be lit up. It's like, you have no say in that stuff. And right there and then, I had this massive relief. It was like, thank God there is nothing that I can do about it. Because for years, I tried to work out why I was an addict. You know, when I first come in, it was all about my spiritual malady. You know, I feel really bad, so I pick up to make me feel better. And then when I started going over my relapses, it was actually, I picked up when things was all right. You know, nothing was going on. When I was 7.5 years clean, I was sitting on an aeroplane. You know, no thought of drinking. I'd come back, I was on my way back from a week away with my daughter from Spain, you know. Holiday weren't great, but there was, I didn't have it in my mind that I was going to drink. And out of nowhere, this woman behind me ordered a glass of Prosecco, and I thought, do you know what, I've never fucking tried Prosecco. And it was that quick how my mind twist. And that mental blank spot is like I could not bring into my mind the suffering and humiliation of why I was in them rooms in the first place. You know, I can't remember dying, I can't remember the neglecting my child, I can't remember, there's nothing. It's like I have amnesia. When it comes to this disease, I have amnesia. That's the only way I can describe it. And yeah, going through that step one, it was like, wow, I can really identify with having no power over this illness whatsoever. And as I say, that was a relief for me. I went through that process, and as a result of that, I had a spiritual experience. And you know, now for me, this is just about helping other women. You know, it's where I have to be. You know, I don't even have to think of it. You know, something has happened to me that I truly cannot explain. It's like, I'm not scared of relapse, and I'm not cocky about it either, but something's happened, and I've been placed in a position of neutrality. And it's like, you know, there's things that I do. You know, I get up in the morning, I pray, I meditate. You know, I do on the spot step 10s. I still send my inventory over to my sponsor every night, and I do as much as I possibly can for the next person. My constant thought has to be of somebody else, you know, and I cannot tell you how grateful I am for CA and, you know, and for the people that are in recovery that explain this stuff to me, you know, because I could just be going along still under that illusion of power, thinking that there's something that I can do to stop this stuff. And that was such a scary, scary place to be in. And it's crazy to think I was taking other people through the work, not actually knowing what alcoholism is, you know. Frightening, but, you know, today, yeah, it's not like that. And I know I've rambled and gone back and forward a bit. I hope some of it made some sense to somebody, but yeah, I'm eternally grateful to this fellowship and to Georgina and Chris and all the people that are in my life today, and I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Brilliant. So I'll now open the meeting to the rest of the floor to share.